Another super chat from Tatiana Fisk. Thank you, Tatiana. She says, "For a man to be free, they can't be equal. For men to be free, to be equal, they can't be free." Paraphrasing Solzhenitsyn. Yeah, I mean, I've said this before. I don't like the word equal. It's, I know, the only equality that is worth talking about is equality under the law. It's literally the only equality that's worth talking about, because there is no equality of opportunity. There is no equality of outcome. Like, that people are different. They have different talents. They have different inherited talents. They have different inherited starting points. Being born into a two-parent family versus not, being born in the US versus being born elsewhere. Like, there is no level playing field at birth. There just isn't. And there is no expectation of equality later. Like, the only way in which equality is important, and I think the way in which it was historically meant, which has been distorted, is political equality. That's what's meant. You treat people equally. That's what you do. You treat them equally. But it's been morphed into this, like, they ought to be equal, and if they're not equal, we need to do something about it. No, people aren't equal. Humans aren't equal. They're not the same.
But you get rid of the policies that treat people unequally. They stop at some point. They cease being about these tangible end goals. Okay, so like end redlining, yes. Okay, but then after we've ended redlining, again, this apparatus still exists. So then what do? They redefine what redlining means, so they can start regressing and doing things that aren't, they move past the measurable end goals, and then they have to start changing language to justify the cause, that the racket that they've become.
I think, honestly, what we're seeing often is that, like, a lot of these people, a lot of the left has had very similar political goals for decades, but there's only so much that they can get away with. The Overton window is only so big, so they're only really allowed to kind of talk so much in that direction. But kind of emotionally, this is why intuitively a lot of people on the right call them commies, right? Because emotionally, like, a lot of them are just like, well, that is kind of what they want. Emotionally, they kind of want that. But they've just been hesitant to kind of say it and maybe even admit it. And as soon as the acceptable discourse allows them to start going farther, they do, and they continue to go that way. And there's no end point. They are now basically calling for Marxist revolution, some of them, right?
Well, this makes me think of, there's a great video, a lecture from Brett Weinstein. If you guys haven't seen it, it's called How the Magic Trick is Done. You can find it on YouTube, Brett Weinstein. And in it, he describes some stuff that happened at Evergreen. But what I find really interesting about it is he talks about the two groups that kind of propel and push the social justice ideology forward. And he roughly divides people into two groups, what he calls the bad actors and the useful tools. And a lot of the useful tools are liberals, actual classical liberals, believe in individualism and equality, and they're in the left because they believe in equality. Then you've got the leftists, the bad actors, and the people who, he said, it's weird because up to a certain point, these groups are in alignment, right? But then you pass that point, and the leftists, the bad actors, are moving off in this direction, and it takes a while for the liberals to realize, wait a minute, we're not in the same group. We had the same shared goals up until a point, but now you guys are going in a crazy direction. like I was with you about ending redlining and removing legal barriers to equality and all this, but now you're in forced redistribution of power and wealth, like defunding the police and discriminating against people on the basis of race and sex. No, like, we're not in the same group.
Because I think you had similar short-term goals, but very different reasons for wanting those goals.
Yes, that's probably true. Yeah. And a lot of liberals don't realize that leftists are not the same as them. And what's that famous saying? They spray paint, the Antifa likes to spray paint on walls. Liberals will get the bullet too. Well, the leftists know. They know the liberals are not in their group.
Oh, yeah. The leftists are often pay. I don't want to say they're smarter. I'm not claiming that they're smarter, but they're often more aware. They're more self-aware of their beliefs because they're examined. They've examined their beliefs. They know what their beliefs are. They know that they want to go in a particular direction. They know why. They'll be overt about it. If you ask them, they can justify their beliefs. I mean, I think their justifications are false, but they've got like justifications. A lot of liberals are kind of like busy living their lives and like, I don't know, I believe people should be treated equally. That sounds good. Right? They're not examining their beliefs very deeply. And so when the leftists come along and say, hey, you need to support us on these causes because they're in line with your belief, they're in line with these things that you like, right? Yeah, everyone nods, and they all kind of jump into one group. And then they try and, as they separate there, they try and pull them in that direction with them, which I think actually has happened for many people. They go left.
They pulled me.
Yeah.
They get liberals to defend illiberal beliefs by redefining words, definitions, shame, all the stuff that they used to move you over there. But it is possible to wake up and realize, wait a minute, this isn't liberalism. What am I doing?